Okay. Can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So today, this is the front end squad. This is what the fourth session for the front end squad, right? And we're going to dig more into components today. All right. Last week we looked at what a component is. We looked at the component class, right? We looked at how to how to add properties to the component class, and how to have those properties be rendered in the template, right? We got to understand what the template is and how they're connected to the component class. Remember, you have the decorator, the component decorator, and that decorator is what actually defines what the template is, what the style sheet is, and what the selector is. So far, we haven't used the selector yet, but today we're going to actually use the selector, and we're going to do some fun stuff with that. We also learned how to create event handlers in the template, right? We created a click handler or a bunch of click handlers on different buttons. And we use those click handlers to call methods on the component class. That's where the JavaScript was that actually did stuff, right? We showed how to conditionally show parts of the templates with the ngIf, right? We showed how to do a loop with the ngFor, right? So, and we showed the template expression that actually outputs the data from the component property. Okay, so what we are going to do today is we're going to create new components. Okay, I also try to explain to you that a component, you can use a component kind of like to create a widget. If you have a lot of HTML, you can make all that HTML into a custom HTML element that you can then use in other templates. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take our bare template, right? And we're going to start working on laying out the application, okay? So today we're going to create a navbar component, okay? We're going to create a navbar component. We're going to create a sign up page, right? And we're going to create a sign up form and try to get it to submit to the backend. Okay, we're going to work through all the different pieces we need to achieve that, but that's our goal today. Our goal is to have the home page have a navbar, right? Have a route that we can go to, like /sign up or something, right? With a link from the navbar, and then have a sign up form on that sign up page. And maybe we'll even have the welcome page. We'll see how that goes if we get that far. Okay, that's the goal today. So it's going to be very visual. Now, like I said, if we hold questions until I pause, that will help the flow be a lot more seamless. So let's get started. Now, just a reminder of what the component is. Here in our application, we'll go to the web app folder, and we go to the source folder. Now, make sure your terminal here is on web app. If it's not, right click on the web app folder here on the left. So if you right click on it and click on open in terminal. Okay, right click, open in terminal, and that will bring you here to web app. Okay, for Windows users, you would need to have opened your web app folder in Git Bash. And that is where you can run your Angular app with NGS. So if you've already done that as a Windows user, you don't need to do it again in the terminal. But for Mac users and Linux users, here we're going to do NGS-O to run the the Angular app and open it up in the browser. Okay, so I'm running my Angular app here, and it's going to open up in Chrome. Let's see. All right. So this is what we worked on last week. This is where we ended last week. And if you remember this, we created this list dynamically from an array, and each one has an add to cart button. And you can click on add to cart to add an item to the cart. Okay, that's what we built last week. We'll still look at it. Well, we may look at it some more, but I'm actually going to blow all of this away because we're going to use this. This is the root of our application, so we're going to start building out the layout for the application here. So let's get started. So if you go in the web app folder, we're going in source and we're going in app, right? This is our app root, and we have the app component, right? The component TypeScript, which is the JavaScript, is right here in component.ts, okay? And the template is in component.html, right? So here's what we want to do. We want to create a navbar component and add it to our application homepage, sorry. So if you don't know what a navbar is, this is a navbar right here. Or if we come to AWS, this is a navbar. So you find that most sites have a navbar at the top. This is a navigation bar. So a navbar is short for a navigation bar. And most sites have at least one navigation bar at the top. Some have two. So like you can see, this has two here, right? Well, this is more like an advertisement support bar. But if you look, Google has one at the top, right up there. It's not as outlined as others, but when you go through different sites, let me see, the Angular site, or this one here that I showed last time, has a nav bar at the top. Let's see what else we have. So nav bar is usually there at the very top of an application to provide navigation, okay? Sometimes it's just search and a few navigation links, but it is pretty conventional to have a nav bar at the top. This site here has a nav bar at the side. So we are going to go with a design where we have a nav bar at the top of the application. Like this. This is a great example, W3 School. Okay? This is the navigation bar we're looking to create. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually create a new component for the nav bar. Let me empty out our app component. I'm just going to delete everything in here. Okay, let's save this so that we have an empty, we now have a completely empty app, right? So we're going to create a nav bar, and what we're going to do is we are going to create a new component. And the way to create a new component in Angular is using Angular CLI is ng generate, right, component, and then the name of the component we want is navbar, right, and then -m app. -m app because we want to add that component to this app module we're working on. If you don't do that, it will not be available within this app. So you actually have to do this -m app to make sure your new component that you add is available. So again, the command is ng generate component, right? And then the name of the component, which is navbar, and then -m to say what module to add it to. I will explain the module bit of it after running this. So when I run this, you see what's happened here? He has created a new folder in there called navbar. And that folder has a navbar.component.sass, navbar.component.html, navbar.component.spec, and navbar.component.ts. It's created a whole bunch of files for me. And if we look here, we have the navbar folder. If I open it, I have all these 4 files. Okay? It's done that. Now, what it has also done, the reason we do -m app is so that that component is registered, right? In our module. So if we come here and we look at app.module.ts, right? If we look in our app.module.ts, we will see that our navbar component has now been added here. There's an import line for it, and it has been added to the module declarations. We haven't discussed what this is. It's a relatively technical concept, but if you don't do this, the component will not be available. And here's what I mean by available. If I come in here to our component HTML, right? Let's look at our navbar component, the definition. Remember this definition here? You have the component decorator that defines the component. And if you look here, you see the selector, app-navbar. This is a custom HTML element that will render the component. So if I come here and I do this, app navbar, app, right? All right. If I do this now and I save this, let me run my Angular app now. So NGS, I don't know. When I run this now, close that so that when it runs, so this is compiling. Once it's done, and my app starts up. Okay. You see what it says here? Navbar works. You know where that's coming from? Can anyone guess where that's coming from? No guesses? Okay, let me show you. Let's look at the navbar component HTML. What does it say there? Navbar works. So what is being displayed by this app navbar HTML tag is whatever is defined in the template for the navbar component. Because this tag here is how you use a component. A component exposes itself as a new custom HTML element. So whatever I want to do here, if I come here and I change it from a P tag to an H1, right? And I save this. Look, that's it. And if I want to remove it from my site, I just remove this. And if I save this, it's no longer there. If I add that component back, Um, let's see. If I add it back, app navbar, right? And I save that, it works. Now, you may wonder, okay, why is this important? Check this out. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to paste that and paste that. No, sorry. Paste that and paste that. And I'm going to save it. Okay. Guess what I have? Now I have 4 instances of it. Now, if I want to change this and I change it to navbar now works, right? And I save that. You know what happened? Once this is done,
it will all change. Right?
Switching from my computer to, yes. You see that? What I've essentially done is I've essentially created a reusable widget. And what this does is it allows me to have a very nice, clean code that has a specific purpose. So you typically use components to solve a specific problem. You do all the work in there. It's self-encapsulated, right? It's a component. It's a piece of the application. It's a piece of the page that you can use in as many places as you want, but you only manage it in one place. Remember, do not repeat yourself, right? So don't build 2 versions of the same thing, right? Don't build 2 versions. Don't write 2 pieces of code that do the same thing. Write it once and reuse it. If it's in JavaScript, you write it as a function, and then you use the function. Or you make it a class, and then you use instances of that class. But in the case of templates, what Angular brings to the game is now the ability to do that with templates as well, with HTML. Make reusable components. So our navbar component is set up and it is connected to our page. So we're now actually going to go and build it out, right? Now, before we go on, I need to change some things about this. So I'm going to change how the files are generated and used. I tried to do this the last time. I forgot one piece and it was tripping me up. So I'm going to change from SASS to SCSS for reasons I will not explain right now. So let's rename this to SCSS. And then we're going to rename styles.scss to SCSS. So SCSS, SCSS less their ways of creating dynamic CSS. I won't talk about that today, but at some point we'll talk about it so that you can understand the benefits of dynamic CSS over just regular CSS. In regular CSS, you can't have variables, right? Just a short, a part of the benefits. You can't have variables in regular CSS, but with less than SCSS, you can have, and less than Sass, you can have variables. So I'm changing this to SCSS. And when I say variables, exactly the same meaning as in JavaScript, variables, okay? So let's not get tripped up and be like, oh my God, what's that again? It's the same thing. All right, and then in here, define SCSS. All right, I'm going to change that to CSS. Okay. Change that to CSS. Okay. CSS. Okay. Change that to CSS. Okay. 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 CSS. Okay Okay, no results. All right, so save that. And then the last bit I need to change the reference in after component. Change that to CSS, and then I need to also change it in a navbar component. And I'm changing it because we're going to write a lot of styles. All right. Let's see. Anywhere else? I think we're all good. Okay. So let's get on. Let's continue the business. So I'm going to run my Angular application again here. I wonder if I can, oh, since I already have it open. Any questions so far?
Yes, if you don't mind quickly going over that just one more time, like a quicker summary of like how you got the nav bar. Like I'm seeing so many components, I'm almost losing track of which is which. So
Okay.
I know we have the app, we have the web app AP, the app components, which is what houses the HTML. I know that one houses the TypeScript, but how did you get the nav bar? Did you create it from scratch? Like, could you quickly just go over that?
Okay, so if you remember the command I used there, ng generate component.
I see.
That's how I created the navbar component. So
I see. Generate component.
Ask Angular. So when you're creating a new component, ask Angular to give you a new component. Interesting. And you give it a name. So we're going to create more components than.
And then the minus M says where to put it, right?
Yes, and we're telling it that we want this component to be added to the app module.
That's the M. That's what the M means.
That is what the M means, is added to the app module. Because you have to register that component. Think about it. You're creating a new HTML element, right?
Yes.
You have to register it so that Angular knows whenever it says app navbar, it knows what to do with that. If you don't register it, Angular is going to complain that it doesn't know what app navbar is. Okay, and that registration registers it in app.module.ts. It adds this navbar component here. That's how it's registered. See what happens if I remove this. I'm going to remove this line. Okay, and then I'm going to remove this line, because that's automatically being underlined, right? If I save this now, and now I've saved, okay? I've saved this. You see what it's saying? You see what, can you see what's happening here in my terminal? It says error, right? App navbar is not a known element because I didn't register it. So Angular is like, hey, okay, what are you trying to do here? I have no idea what this is. And my build has failed. It's refused to compile it because it's not a known element. So if you don't use the -m, you will have to come in and manually add this before your component starts working. Once I put that registration back in there, it's there. So you have to remember that command. It's a command you use a lot. We're going to use it more, so it will register. But it's ng, which is telling Angular. Literally what you're saying is Angular generate a component named navbar and register it with the module app. So ng generate component navbar -m app.
I noticed that you press Control-C before you enter the command. Is that necessary?
No. I only press Ctrl C to kill the terminal. For me, my terminal is currently in use. I can't enter a command right now
Oh,
because I'm on Linux, so that I'm using only the one terminal I had in VS Code.
oh, I see. Okay.
Right. If I don't press Ctrl C, I can't issue a command. So I have to stop the server because I have the development, my live reload server and everything running here. So I have to stop it so I can type a command. On Windows, your Angular server is running in Git Bash. You don't have that problem, right? Your terminal in Mac is free. Your terminal in VS Code is free, so you can type commands and keep typing commands. I could do the same thing here. I can kill this here, and I can come here to my
I
terminal.
see. So that means
Like
I
you're doing in
can't.
Git Bash.
So that means I can't continue. That means if I wanted to do it in Git Bash, I would have to press Control C in Git Bash, but not in
Correct.
Visual Studio.
Correct.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay.
So let me do it. I'm gonna run my Angular app in a separate terminal so that it's similar to what you're doing. So I'm going to do cd web app here, which is the equivalent of a git bash, and I'm going to say ngs. Okay, and then that's going to run my Angular app. All right, so let's proceed. Let's proceed here.
It's just a quick question. The nav bar, was that like, could you have named it something different? Like, is nav bar like standard?
You can name it whatever you want.
Okay.
But the standard name for that is the nav bar. Right? You can name it navigation bar. You can name it my long navigation bar name. When you write your custom element, you will regret that choice. Right? Because whatever you name it is what is added here after app. The name cannot have spaces, right? Do not use underscore. Do not use any uppercase characters. Like everything in lowercase. Remember, all file names lowercase. Don't make uppercase file names. Bad practice. So all your file names should be lowercase, no camel case file names. Even if it's your name, all lowercase. And for file names, snake case, which means hyphen separated words. Okay? Now the reason, like I said, that we have this element is because if we go into the navbar component, which is the TS file, the TypeScript file, and we open it up, our selector is what? App navbar. That's where this is coming from. That is what is registered with Angular is app navbar. All right, so now let's actually create a navbar. Okay, so we're going to close this, and we're going to open up our navbar HTML. Okay, right now it just has this H1. That's not what we need for a navbar. So for a navbar, let's talk through it. We want a navbar that's something like this, right? We want to have the name of the project on the top left, which is just classroom, right? And then we want to have a few menu items, right? And that's it. Just to start, we give it a background color, maybe a blue or something, but not the gray, okay? And we'll work with that. So let's start off. First thing is, what kind of element, what HTML element would be best to make a rectangle like this? Anyone? What did I say is the most common container element that we will use?
Div.
A div, right? Okay, a div. Now in HTML5, there's actually an element called nav, which pretty much does the same it is the semantically correct element to use for this. So let's use nav. Okay. So if you want to check it out, you can do a Google search for HTML nav tag. Okay. And there's a W3 Schools page for it. That's a nav tag. Okay. And you see the description. Well, that's an example. But look at the definition and usage. Hold on, something is slowing my computer down. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Now hold on. I'm gonna need to kill. Sorry, I had this problem last week and my computer did a bit of a reset. So I can hear the graphics card burning up. Well, not burning up, but running hard. So just 1 second while it finishes processing whatever it is.
I'll just serve one more time, right? Somebody talk.
Okay. Hi, can you hear me, Wayne?
Did you?
How could the meeting holder be muted?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay,
Is
so
that
No, I'm
still
not muted.
on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
He's
so
still
things I've been saying.
I can't hear him.
Hello?
One else. Yeah.
Hello?
Is anyone else trying to do this in real time?
Yeah. Hello, guys. Sorry, my computer was actually very first day. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, but with an echo, but that's okay.
Okay. So I am leaving the meeting on my phone and I'm back to the crappy sound. Okay, and so we shall return. So apparently Chrome was what was crashing out my computer. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna let's see what's going on here. Just 1 second here. I Zoom burning up my CPU.
What command was that again?
Top. It's a Linux command.
Oh.
Yeah. I want to kill Firefox. So. Kill it dead. Process. So hold on. Okay, Firefox. Just a couple minutes and then we'll be back. Nope. Which one is that? Is it done yet? Yeah, Firefox is done. All right. Okay. I killed Firefox and start Visual Studio Code again. And let's just start Chrome again. All right. I need to make sure I can hear everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're back in business here. All right. So let's. Come on. Okay. All right. That was just. All right. Okay. So back to where we were. So I was showing you the nav element, right? And I was showing you on W3 Schools what the nav element is. So HTML5, it's an HTML5 element, which is what we're doing is HTML5. And so the semantically correct element to use to create a navigation bar is the nav element. You can use a div. You find that a lot of people just use div. But with HTML5, you have more semantically correct elements, right, for different purposes. They're essentially just divs as well, but they do different things. So you'll see the list of elements is larger in HTML5. So I'll recommend, that you use HTML5 elements whenever you're doing something or anything, right? So that you have semantically correct markup. And semantically correct markup means that you're using tags that are for the purpose. So for example, you can use a div and put a click by event handler on the div, right? The div will be clickable. You can write CSS to make it have a mouse over and everything. But that's not semantically correct because a div is not meant for clicking. If you want to make something clickable, use a button or use a link. That is what you make clickable, right? Not a div. So we're using a nav here. Now, what do we have in a nav? In our nav, we want to have a page title, right? So here we can actually use a span, and we can call this classroom. Okay, and we can give it an ID of masthead. Okay, that's what we usually call that. The logo at the top left, we call the masthead. Now we're going to create a list, that's going an unordered list, right? For our navigation. So we'll have a list item, right? And maybe we have courses, right? We can have another list item here that would be, we will call that instructors, right? Maybe we want to have a directory of the instructors, and then We can have another list item here for sign up. Okay, let's just create those three for now. And if we save this now, all right, so we have kind of our navigation. But what's our problem here? The first thing you can see is that this list, right, has bullets on it. So let's start working on styles for it. We have the SCSS file, which is our styles file, right? And in here, we can say nav, okay? And then inside our nav, one of the benefits of SCSS is that in normal CSS, remember, I don't know if you remember, but we can have hierarchy by saying nav UL, right? We can do that in normal CSS. Does anyone remember that? To deal with nested elements. In our navigation HTML here, the UL is inside the nav, so it is nested. The LIs are inside the UL, right? The list items are inside the unordered list. So these are nested tags. And writing styles for nested styles in normal CSS is nav UL. But using SAS and LESS and SCSS gives us the ability to actually reflect that same nesting. So you can say UL here, okay? And the first thing we're going to do for our UL is we're going to say list style type. And you can see VS Code is helping us. We're going to say none. All right. And once we do that and we save it, it's gotten rid of the bullets. Let me move this aside a little. You can see that the bullets are gone here now. Okay. Now for the list items inside it, so here we can come in now and say for the list items in there, what do we want? We want them to be side by side. Does anyone remember why they are on separate lines? Anyone?
Because they
Remember in
are
the
block, is it
class-
because they are block elements?
Because they are block elements. What other type of elements do we have? What do we call the elements that stay side by
I
side?
know them, but I want somebody else to answer.
Okay, elements that lay side by side are inline elements. So we have block elements and we have inline elements, right? Now we can make a block element display like an inline element, and we can make an inline element behave like a block element by changing the display type. So in this case, we want them to display like inline block elements. So we want them to still be block elements, but we want them to stay side by side. And you can do that by changing the display, right? Inline block. All right, if we now save this, they are now side by side. Okay, the same thing with our UL. We want it to be display inline block. Because the reason it is on a different line from classroom is because UL is a block element. The span, classroom is in a span, right? Let's look at our markup again. Look at our HTML. The text classroom is in a span, right? That is, a span is an inline element. It's the inline version of div. So it's either a div or a span. Div is block, span is inline. So this is already inline, but UL is block, which is why the list item starts on the next line. So if we change it to inline block and I save this, then they are now side by side. Okay, so we're getting somewhere now, right? Now let's give the nav a background so we have a visual to work with. So background color, right? I will say zero zero 6699. That's a hex for a blue. I know that in my head. There's actually a formula. There's a formula for calculating colors. I won't talk about it right now. It's a more advanced concept. But that way I can actually make colors by mixing these hex values. And it's really mixing red, green, and blue. Right? So if I want it to be pure blue, so what I did here is actually have no red, a little green, and more blue. And that gives me a nice pastel type blue. I want the text color here to be white. So I'm going to set the color white. All right. I save that. There. Okay. It's coming together. I can see that the classroom on this edge is touching the left edge. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say padding left 10 pixels. So that way it's not touching the left edge. So I've created some breathing room here. All right. And then these list items are all bunched up together. So what I want to do here is I want to create a margin between them. So margin left, or let's just do the margin shortcut, right? Remember the shortcut, vertical margin, 0, and then horizontal margin, that's on the left and right of it. Let's say 20 pixels. If I save this now, look at that. We're starting to have a navigation bar. Okay. We can make it a little prettier. We can put a border between them. So we can say, for each one now, we can say border right, 1 pixel, solid, and white. And that gives a white border. But here's what I need. You see that? I want the whole height to be my list item, right? So I don't want it to be, and then the border is also touching my text. Who knows how we can make the border not touch the text? The border is touching the text because the outline of my list item is exactly on the edge of the text.
You need some padding.
I need some padding. So I'm gonna give it, so the first thing here is that my list item has padding on it already, which is why that padding up and down is there. We don't want the padding on my unordered list rather. We don't want the padding on the unordered list, we want the padding on the list items, right? So I'm going to set the padding here to 0. Okay. Where else is padding coming from? Let's inspect this and see. So if we inspect this, look at this, where is the padding coming from? Oh, okay. So it has, it's not a padding that it has a margin. So let's set the margin to 0. So margin 0.
Is the margin coming from Chrome's default
No,
CSS?
no. It's a standard thing for unordered lists.
Okay.
They always have a margin and a padding because that's how it indents it and pushes it down to
Gotcha.
separate it from.
All right.
Okay, so now we've cleared all of those margins, right? So now we can actually put our padding back on our list items. So rather than making this a right border, okay, let's leave it as a right border. Let's put our padding on this, right? And we want vertically, we want maybe 15 pixels. And as you work, you get used to these sizes and you can tweak them. I'll show you how you can even play with it in the inspector to get the right numbers you want, and then you can copy them back here. But so padding 15 pixels, vertical. Remember, it's vertical, horizontal. So 15 pixel is vertical, that's up and down. There's going to be padding of 15 pixel above and 15 pixels below. And then left and right, let's say we want 30 pixels. All right, let's see how that looks. Okay, this is what it looks like. Now I think, okay, maybe that's a little too much still, right? So let's say 10 pixels vertical and 20 pixels horizontal. But here's the thing. If we don't know how much we need, we can actually come here and inspect this. What's the inspect? Oh, inspect, right. Can come here and inspect this, right? It's on the list item. And on the right here in the inspector, you see we have the padding. If you click in there, right, and just make sure the cursor is on the 10 pixel, you can use the up and down arrow on your keyboard to tweak that. And you can see what the effect would be. And so you can tweak it until you get to a height that you like that's just perfect. And once you get there, then you can look at the value. And so I see 12 pixel. Let's see what 10 pixel looks like. I personally like whole numbers. That's just me. It's easier to calculate, right? So I prefer to go like 10, 20, 15, multiples of 5. Right? All right, so we have this. Our margin here, our horizontal margin here is killing us. So we're going to take this out because we're not using the paddings. And if I save that, so we have our nav bar, it's starting to look pretty decent, right? Let's bump these away from classroom. So I'm going to come here and then the margin left to push it away from that text classroom. So margin left, say 30 pixels. Oh, no, not that one, sorry. Not there. More right here. All right. That's what we want. Not enough. Maybe padding left. Nope. Okay. Let's look at this again. So we inspect this. We want the list item here. And we want to give it, so padding left is not doing anything for us. No. So you see, I'm moving this, nothing's happening. So maybe, oh. Nothing's happening because remember cascading style sheets? Further down, I'm actually setting the padding to 0. So I'm canceling out all my changes. So what I need to do is I need to do my padding left after my padding 0. Let's save this now. There, we have the left padding I was looking for. Okay. And so last thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to add a drop shadow on this just so it's, hold on, let me also do this. On my main style, where's my styles.scss here? The body has a padding and a margin, right? So I'm going to do padding 0 and margin 0. That is to get rid of this space on the, you see the white space near the edge there? I want it to bleed completely, so just get rid of that. So that gets rid of that. So we have a nice tight nav bar here. We can also just add a shadow, so a box shadow, horizontal, 5 pixel, black. Let's see how this looks. All right, there. Okay, and then one last thing that we can do to make this not look so awful is we can change the font family, or the font, yes, so the font. And this here is a directive in the body. We can call font family, right? And we can say sans serif. Let's go with this one. Verdana, whatever. Okay, so now we have a font that's not so old school. All right. Now, one other thing that we can do here, let's make our classroom look like a logo. Sorry? So the last thing we'll do is let's make our classroom. Remember how to select our classroom, that's this text classroom here, has an ID of masthead, right? So let's put a style on the masthead. So found masthead, right? And what we want to do is we want to make it bold. So the font weight, bold, the color, yellow, right? And let's see what we get there. Okay, and maybe text transform. Capitalize. Let's see, capitalize. No, not capitalize. Uppercase. All right. So we're good now. It looks good enough for us to continue. This is our navbar component. We can build off of this later. Any questions so far?
Could you quickly remind me how you changed your SASS to SCSS, and like it seems like I missed a step or two.
Well, yeah, that's out of scope of this class.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's out of scope of this class. But when I push this, you will all have the files.
Okay.
Okay, it is part of the configuration when you're setting up a new Angular project. You get the options for the styles: CSS, less, SCSS, SCSS. Right? I recommend picking SCSS or less because they allow you to write your CSS nested, similar to how your HTML is nested. So you see our HTML here: nav, masthead, UL, li. I can have it like that here: nav, masthead, UL, li, and it will convert it to proper CSS for the browser. The other thing to, and that's helpful. And whenever you save a change to your CSS file, right, your Angular server here reloads. You can see all this reloading from all the changes I've been doing, which helps me not have to click refresh here. I just save and I can see it. Okay, so we've created this component. This is all nice and good, right? This is a navbar component. Now let's create another component for our page. And sorry, I'm being a little nitpicky about the look and feel of this, but I just want to change the font size. It's a little too yummy for me. So I'm change the font size to 0.9 and okay. That be a little better. Okay. All right. So let's go on now. And let me see. If I change the font size here of the list items here, font size 0.9M. Okay, that's better. That's nicer, much crisper. All right, so we've created this component, a navbar component, and we've used it. Okay, now we're going to create another component and actually give it a route. So we're going to create the sign up page. And we want it to be such that you can go to /signup. Okay, right now if I go to /signup, there's nothing there, so it just kicks me right back to the home page. But we want to have a /signup page. We want to be able to do this. We're going to make the sign up link an actual hyperlink. So we're going to come here and we're going to say href equals /sign up. Right? Oh, come on. I'm all uppercase here. So href equals /sign up. Right? That's a once. And I can kill. Get rid of that. So I've made this a hyperlink. You can see the mouse has changed. When this wasn't a hyperlink, the mouse is just a I-bar, right? It's just the text in. But when it's a hyperlink, I now have a pointer. And if you look at the bottom here, you see it shows me where it will take me. If I click on that, it takes me there, but there's nothing there. Let's add some styles so that that link is visible. So who can tell me how to add styles for the hyperlink? Can anyone try?
A-tag.
Okay, so what do? I go on a new line. What do
Yeah.
I just tell me what to do?
A.
Okay.
I'm wondering whether it should be in there. Okay, it's for the link, right? Yes. So A, yeah, it's for the link.
Look at the nesting position.
Gotcha.
Inside
Gotcha.
the LI.
It's inside the LI. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so for the A, so it just depends on what you want to change. If you want to change the hover behavior.
Well, I want to change the color.
Color. Okay, so then color. Start with color.
And I don't want it to be underlined. Okay, so I'll make it white like the others. So color, white, right?
Yeah. Text
And
decoration.
then the hover state.
Hover
Yes,
state.
text decoration. Well, no, so you're right. Text decoration, right? None. Right, that removes the underline.
Mhm.
So if I save this, now we have that. And if I mouse over it, you see that? Now I have a link. Okay. Now, here's something else we can do. And let me just show you this. And this is more CSS than Angular. You see this link? The whole thing should be clickable, right? But it's only clickable when I mouse over the text. That's because this link is inline. My padding and stuff are on the LI, not on the link. So a good trick is this. We take the padding that we have here and move them onto the link, right? If you move it onto the link, and then you make the link inline block. Display inline block. This is a trick that may not make sense to you, but one day when you're trying to solve a problem, right, you will realize that, like, you remember this, and it will save you a lot of pain. And now
So you're dragging that thing like magic. You dragged it to the numbers and then dragged it down, right? Was that what you did?
You can select it. You can select the whole line by just clicking on the number,
and then you dragged down.
And then you can drag. Yeah. Once you've selected that text, you can drag it.
Did you drag it by
with
your mouse or with your keyboard?
With my mouse. With my mouse.
Okay.
Yeah, with my mouse. All right. So, and then what we're going to do is, since that style requires everything to be a link, let's just make these other ones links as well. So a href equals, let's make it pound, right? And then we got in there. And this one. And then take this and move it in. So far, this is just the same HTML that we know, right? I just made them hyperlinks because my paddings are now on the links, not on the, okay? And so each one now, so if I now mouse over, it doesn't matter where I mouse over, it's clickable. The whole of this block is clickable because I'm making the link take up all the space rather than when it was only the text. All right, so now we've done this. Before I proceed to create an actual page, any questions? Okay, let's create a sign-up page.
Quick question, like when you're designing this, do you typically have a design that you're following, like maybe a drawing that they've done of what they want their website to look like? Or they come up with this?
Yes. No, you will often have a designer who's going to give you the marks.
Okay.
Right? So they'll give you a design document that's maybe a PDF or a Photoshop file or a JPEG or a PNG of what they want it to look like. And then you have to write the code and the CSS, the markup and the CSS to implement it.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So you don't have to be a designer. You don't have to be a designer, but you have to be able to write the code to interpret the design.
To reproduce what they give you, basically.
Right. To
okay.
reproduce what they give you.
Okay.
all right? And a lot of these tricks, remember what I showed you about mouse over, inspect? If you go on websites and you see, if you have a problem, like you have something in your design, and you've seen a website that has something similar, you can do the inspect to see how they achieve theirs. Copy their CSS. It's out there on the internet. It's for free. Nobody's going to sue you for that. And you can tweak it until it works for you.
Okay.
Okay. So like, for example, the HTML, if you like this look for the nav bar, I could have come here, inspect, right? And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look, you see, they use the div for their nav bar, right? And then I can look at it and see how they got the styles for it to look like that. You see that? You can see all the styles and everything. And you can keep going until you figure out everything about it. So let's go on. All right, so now we have this. Let's create a new page, right? And this is where things get a little more exciting. So far, we've only had one route. There's nowhere else to go, right? This is the home page. Now we want to actually create a route, right? We want to actually create a route that can be navigated to, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new component for our route. So we can close this. We're done with our nav bar, right? And then we're done. Let's see, git status. We can add those files. Hit add here, git commit, created nav bar. All this is familiar now, right? Okay, so we want to create a new component for our sign up page, right? Who remembers what the command is to create a component?
ng generate.
Generate.
Yes, so ng generate.
Body
What are we asking it? What are we asking it to generate for us?
Component.
body.
Components. No, components. We want it to make us a new component, right? So ng generate component. What do we call it? Sign up, right? What else is missing? We have to register the component. -m. That's how you register a component. Okay.
Do you mind pushing?
You. Yes, I'm going to push in 1 second. I'm not going to press enter on this because I want to show you a shortcut. Remember how ng serve --open has a shortcut of ngs-o, right? That's very useful. For generating components, there's also a shortcut for it. It is ng generate, just G, component, C, sign up, -m, app. That's the command. And that will create a new component. So ng, G for generate, C for component, and the name of the component. So because this is something you're going to do a lot. So the shortcut helps you, NGGC. Name of component -m app, you're done. Press enter. What did I do wrong? Oh, I'm not in Angular project, so let me do this. Yeah. Web app.
Can you generate your components without necessarily building it up first, like the way we just did? Like, can you generate multiple components and then build them up later?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Yes, you can. You absolutely can. NGGC. Like, you can plan out your layout and whatever, and have, like, there's what's called a wireframe. You can just have boxes. You can have a sketch, right? And then maybe next class we'll try to see if we can work up a wireframe for problems we'll solve. Or you can just have a sketch with boxes. So you have a box that says navbar, box here says login form, box here says sign up, box here says advertisement, whatever. You can have all the boxes, and you can just generate the components, and then you can start implementing them one after the other. And what happens is that when you, so let's create the sign up and you'll see what happens. So sign up, right? Type an M up. And this is going to create a sign up component for us, right? And it's registered with the module. So I'm going to add this and commit and push to that. So git add, git commit, created shell of sign up component, right? Git pull, git push. Okay, so I push this now. So anybody, if you do a pull, you get this. So we've created the shell of the sign up component. And we can tell that it works. If we just come to our, let's come to our app HTML again. Similar to what we did with the nav bar. Right, let's close this nav bar. Let's come to app component HTML. Right, if we come here and we add app sign up, right, and we save this, you see that? Sign up works. Tells us our component works. Okay, that tells us our component works. Now we need to add a route for this component and have the component show up on the route. So what we're going to do, we come in here to our route, to our router, and there's the app routing module. Okay, this takes an array of routes, right? Takes an array of routes. If you want to know how to do routing, if you need a refresher, Angular routing, right? And if we look here, let's look at this documentation that we get here. In-app navigation routing to views, right? So app routing module, okay? We need to import the component, and then we need to create where is it? And then we need to define our routes here. So this is an example of how to define routes. Okay, so what we're going to do here, 2 steps. First, we need to import our new component. What's our component that we want to route to?
Sign up.
Remember, right, so import, and this is how you import it. If you look in the sign up component, and you look in the TS file, remember the TS file is the definition. That's where it's defined and all that, right? This is the name of the component, sign up component. So that's what we want to import. So we want to import in curly braces here, sign up component, and we want to import it from, and then this is a path to the component file, right? So, no, it's slash sign up, right? Slash sign up.component. All right, VS Code is very helpful, very easy. And then now we'll come and define the route. The routes array is an array of JSON objects with a path. Sorry, excuse me. So we have an array, a JSON object, right, with a path property, which is the path we want it to be. And our path, we said we want it to be sign up, right? Sign up. That's what our link is set to. Remember here, the mouse over this, just to sign up. That's what you put for path. And then the second part of it is the component that handles that route, right? And this is going to be sign up component. And there, we've created a route, right, for the sign up component. And let's take this out of here so that we'll know when we are there. All right. Okay. So now we have the route and we have a component. If we click on sign up, you see now it stays there. Remember before we created that route, when we tried going sign up, it just went back to the home page. We kept kicking back to the home page because there was no sign up route. But now we have a sign up route and you click on it. Voila. But hey, we're not done yet because we still can't see the markup for sign up, right? We can't see that markup. So what do? We need to come here and we need to tell Angular where to put the contents of the component. We need to create what's called a router outlet. The router outlet tells you where to put the contents. That is it. So now our route works. If we come back here, nothing. We click on sign up works. That's how we have created a new page. Okay, so let's talk through the steps again before we then put something on sign up. Actually, let's do this. Let's make sign up more clearly sign up. So here we're going to come to our sign up component, come to the HTML for it. And here, rather than it works, we're going to create an H2 here and say sign up. All right, I'll save that. And now we know we're on sign up. Oh, and I have an extra. Now we know we're on sign up page. Okay. I'm looking at this and I can see that this is touching the edge of the screen. I'm not too excited about that. So let's just quickly tweak that. So we'll go to the app component SCSS. Let's put some styles for router outlet. So router outlet, that's our tag, right? I will say padding 20 pixel. Oh. Why don't we have a padding left? A second. Oh, okay. No. Sorry. Rather outlet.
Aren't you going to post the original, the sign up sheet we suffered to create all that one?
What did you say?
Aren't you going to post the sign up sheet we suffered to create all that one?
Yeah, I'm going to create a new one.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll create a new one. We'll do it very quickly.
no problem.
So Dave, here I just want to do Dave ID equals main content, just so that we can style this. And then router at outlet says where it should put the content. So we'll put that inside this div, right? And then we're not going to style router outlet. We're actually going to style the div that contains router outlet, because main content is where the stuff is. So rather than router outlet, remember ID pound, to use an ID pound. So pound main content, and that's how you identify a div. Okay, and so now it's now padded to 20 pixels. It's no longer touching the edge.
Is the reason why you put the reason why we give ID? Is this the only reason why we give IDs in HTML?
IDs, no, you also use IDs to target elements from JavaScript.
Gotcha.
So there are so many reasons, but the idea is so that you can target a specific element. Now, in this case, we're going to have only one main content div, right? We're only going to have one. But if so, we just use an ID, right? Now, in HTML5, there's a proper tag for this, either a section or, they're different, but I won't bother with that detail right now. So let's close this. We don't need that. And we can close the router. We created the route. But let's talk through how we created a new route. First thing, we generated a route. I'm just summarizing this. So the first thing we did was we generated a new component called signup, right? With the command nggc, and then the name of the component. This generated a whole new component, and we made sure it was registered on the app module. This -m is --module, right? So -m is --module. So the module that we want this component on is the app module. We generated it, which gave us these files. But you see that it also updated app module.ts, okay? And then after that, we went in and edited the router module file. This is app routing module.ts, okay? App routing.module.ts. We edited that file and we created a new route JSON object. That's what we did here. It's a JSON object that takes two parameters, a path and a component. And that's it. So we specify the path signup and the component signup component. This path can be whatever we want it to be. If we want it to be, if I said I wanted the path to be, please sign up, right? If I save it, look, sign up, the sign up path no longer exists. My link doesn't work because there's no path called sign up. But the path is / please sign up. Okay, so the path name can be whatever you want. It doesn't have to match the module name. I just want to make it clear. There's no link between the path name and sorry, it doesn't have to match the component name. There's no link between the path name and the component name. They are connected together here. Okay, this is where you connect them together. You're now saying this path is handled by this component. That's how you link them together. So I'm gonna remove the please. So we have it working with our link. Now I've removed the please. Please sign up does not exist as a path anymore. Sign up does. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So let's create our sign up form very quickly. I'm going to try to fly through this. So let's come to our sign up component.html file here. All right. And I'm going to say, I'm going to create a new form. right? And I'm going to give it a name. Okay. And then here, we'll create a div, right? And I'm going to say, come on. Here, it's a little, right? 4 equals first name, right? And this will be first name. We'll do that. And then I'm going to create an input here. Input type equals text, right? ID equals first name, name equals first name, placeholder. All right. And then there's an easy way to do this. I'm going to copy this. Paste that. So first name, this is going to be last name, right? Last name, last name, last name. If I was doing this in Vim, it would be a lot faster. All right. And then this will be email. This would be email address. Type, and then just type email. This is email. Yeah. The placeholder, mail address. Okay. And then what else do we need here? What else do we need for the sign up form? Phone number, right? Let me do this. This phone. Phone number. This phone. Phone. And phone. Well, I don't know if phone is a valid type. No, it's not. It's showing the text. Okay. And then we need 2 buttons. So div, right? I'll say class equals action button. And here we'll create a button, right? Type equals button, right? We'll call this cancel. And then here we'll make another button. Button type equals submit. That's the button that submits the form. I will say submit. Okay. All right. So we have our sign up form. Yeah, at the top of the form. Let's just put a paragraph here. Say paragraph, please fill out the form below to get started. Right? And then here, rather than submit, we can be more friendly. Let's say, let's do this. No. Finish registration. Okay. So now we're going to do some styles on this as well. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to come into the SCSS, right? And we're going to, let's start up with the form. And let's just say our label, right? Display inline block. That's currently inline, right? Width 100 pixels, right? Color dark gray. Let's save that and see what we have. All right, no, a little too light. So let's go with that. A little darker. Let's read it. All right. And then now we have our inputs. Maybe this, we want this to be 20 pixels. Sorry, what am I doing here? Div, margin, five pixel, 0. There's some spacing on that. Okay, that looks better, right? And then we have our div. Is that what we called it here? Action buttons, sorry. Action buttons. And here, we say margin top, 20 pixel, text align, right? Let's see what we get. Oh, look at that. Put it all the way to the right there. So maybe that's not what we want. So I'll take that out. And then we'll just say button. Say submit. So we're going to use a class on the submit button just to demonstrate classes one more time. Here we're going to say class submit button, right? So if we come back here, say button dot submit button. Yeah, we can say background color green, let's say cover. Border 1 pixel solid. Okay, that gives us a button that looks like a button. And here we can just say for all the buttons, let's give them a padding here. Horizontal, vertical padding 5 pixel, horizontal padding 7 pixel. Border type, border style, solid. Okay, and then margin 1 pixel. No, too much, 5 pixel. All right, so we have a sign up form and it doesn't look completely useless. So I think this is a good point to stop tonight. But this is, we very, very, very quickly created a route. Oh, let's do one thing. Let's make it so that when you click on Classroom, it takes you back to the home page. Who can help with that?
I think you put a tag on the nav component.
Okay, so talk me through it. What file do I edit?
So you edit the nav component HTML.
Okay, where's the file?
It should be on. It should be in navbar. Go inside navbar.
Okay. All right.
So that HTML. Click on the HTML component. Let me see what's in there.
The navbar component HTML. All right.
Yes. So you need to add an href to Classroom.
So my masthead. My masthead. Right?
Yes, after masthead. Oh no, sorry, no.
So yeah. I mean, you're right on it. I can just change that span to an A tag.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right.
Could you also just put the A tag in there?
No, so I've already made it an A tag.
That's what I'm saying.
Just change it. So
as an alternative, could you have put the A tag inside the span? I actually don't even know what the span is.
A tag on cancel.
Yeah, I could have put an A tag in the span. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now cancel I left as a button deliberately because I want us to deal with it later. Okay, but I want this classroom to be a link, and now it's a link. So if I click on this, it takes me back to the root of the site. So I can actually come here, and I now have a way to go back home. And that's convention. Usually the logo of a site takes you back to the home page. Right, the masthead is very applicable. Now we need to get rid of that underline. So
text
we're coming to
decoration.
the, yes. So where's our masthead?
You edit the CSS.
Yes. So we're editing our masthead now.
Text decoration.
Text decoration.
None.
Yep.
And maybe increase the size while you're at it.
Okay. I can take this font size 1.5 M. Now an M is a measure, right? It's a measure usually used for font sizes. And let's make sure our padding, we want similar padding to what we have here. So we're going to say want it to be evenly padded. So let's borrow this padding from here. Here. All right. Oh. No, let's give it a padding top. Oh, no. The reason it's not doing anything is because it's not inline block. So display inline block. So when you add styles like padding and margin to an inline element, they don't tick. It has to be inline block. Okay. So just so you know, when you're working, if you're adding styles like paddings and margins and nothing's happening, if you're working on an inline element, it is because it is inline. It is not inline block. So you have to change it to inline block for you to be able to add block styles. Margins and paddings are block styles. Okay. All right. So we have
Why
this.
is it called inline block instead of just block?
Because block will take the entire row.
Gotcha.
Which is not what we want here.
Gotcha.
If we made this block, and we can demonstrate that by make it block rather than inline block. And I save that. See what happens? Because it's now block. It's going to take the entire row. Look at it. See, the entire row is clickable.
I see.
So that's the difference between block and inline block.
Gotcha.
In this case, we want it to be inline block, so that it takes block styles, but it actually is still inline. And that's what that means. All right. So this is where we'll stop today. But as you can see, we were able to create a new route, create a new component, attach it to the route. We did some styles. We created a navbar component. We added it to our page. Okay. It's a lot of things, but let me just break. And sorry, oh, we're already over. I'm just going to wrap it up quickly. Conceptually, we created a new component. A new component is a reusable piece, right? It gives us a custom HTML element that we can apply in different places. And what we did today, we created two components. One we used as a navbar, so we didn't give it a route because it's not a page by itself. But then we created a second component that we wanted to use as a page. And for that, we created a route. So we added it to the router, right, to the routing module. And that's way we could reach it by sign up. And we created hyperlinks on our sign up to take us to that page. And that's it. We just added a hyperlink to this to take us back to the home page, which is just slash. And that's it. Okay. Any questions? Are we totally lost, or did we at least follow a little bit today?
I did. I was able to follow most of it. I'm still a little bit behind on the actual JavaScript part of it, which is creating the routes and the the routes. That bit
Right.
of it is still a bit. I'm still a bit behind on that.
Right.
I'll catch up.
Right. Watch the video. It isn't much. There isn't much to it at all. It is 2 lines, right, that we did to add the route. And if you look in the app routing, so I'm going to collapse navbar. If you look in the app routing module, we open that. We imported our new component and we use it. This is JSON. This is just a JSON object in an array. Look, you see that? Square brackets. array,
Yes.
and we just added it. So your routes is literally an array of routes. It's a collection of routes, all the routes defined for the app. So you just create a new JSON object for your new route. It has a path and a component. What's the path for the route, and what component serves the route?
I see.
That's
So when
it.
you want to add another route, you simply add it into this array.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Simply add it into that array.
Interesting.
That is all you do. You want to add another route? Copy this. See, look, if I do this right now, I copy this, right? And I say another sign up, and I save that. Guess what happens here? I can come to slash another sign up, and it works. Another sign up. Okay? If you create another component and you replace this with it, whatever is in that component HTML is what will display here. That's it. That's how it works.
That makes sense. Thanks.
Right. You're welcome. All right. Any other questions? Ask now or forever hold thy peace.
So you're going to help me with my Angular.
Okay. Well, I mean, relating to what we've done today first, and then I'll stop recording. Any other questions pertaining to this? Okay. So let me just commit and push this out, and then I'll stop the recording, and then we can dig into stuff. So git status, right? I have a bunch of files modified. Git commit, created sign, am I doing sign up form, right? Form, right? Actual form submission is still pending, which is what we're going to do in the next class. Okay, git pull, git push. All right, that's done. So this ends today's class. Thank you so much for joining us. And